Good afternoon. My name is Caroline Coriel. My instructional design for this class is going to be an asynchronous learning tool in the form of a video for distance learning students at Rowan College at Burlington County, henceforth referred to as RCBC. When I started this class, we didn't have any form of asynchronous learning video available, and at the time we were offering physical classes and webinars. Since COVID-19, we have moved online, and that has changed some of our services, but I'd like to give the presentation as if this were not the case and we had resumed physical classes in person. One of the first things I want to have students do is register for a library barcode. Typically, if you're a distance learning student, you have the option to come see us in person to be issued a barcode, or you can do it through an online form. I think that students need to be proactive about requesting their barcode because when they're doing this online, we have to go through distance learning to have them verify that this person is indeed only taking distance learning courses. If they're taking a single class in person, they will not be eligible for this. It can take a little time for distance learning to do this and get the information back to us. So I typically tell people it's 24 hours unless you can physically get here in person. It's also nice to get the physical ID because you can keep that open and have access to it longer. For example, if you're taking a class in the summer, you won't have to contact us about getting another barcode. Yours will still be good at that time. It's also important that students get their barcode because without that, they will have no means to access the RCBC databases off campus. As you can see, you can click the databases right here. And we have several listed, some of which are more useful than others in different subject areas. During this presentation, I want to focus on Academic Search Premier and ProQuest, which is further on down the list. I chose both of these because they're typically covered in our in-person library resource instructions. They're very good for casting a wide net, and a lot of the other databases are very similar to them. So if you can master those two, you're going to reasonably have a level of comfort in the other ones. And let's take a look at Academic Search Premier really quickly. Right now it's just asking me for my 14-digit barcode and my library PIN. So we're just going to do that. So this is Academic Search Premier. When we do this, I'm going to make sure students know to limit their results to full text and from peer-reviewed journals. I want to make sure they know how to search with different search terms. We're going to do searching by the title. We're going to talk about searching by the author. And we're going to talk about limiting the results within a certain frame of time. So let's just say we're going to do graduate students as our search term. And the nice thing about this is that students will have the option to follow along with me in person, or rather through their screen rather, or they can pause and do what I do on their own. And something else I want them to do is I want them to be able to limit the results. For example, we don't want someone citing an article published in 1943, so we're going to move this up to the last 5 years. There we go. And that's like else I want them to learn. When we have this, we're also going to talk about some of the things we see in the record. For example, we see all the authors. We see the subject terms they use and why that's important. Here's an abstract. I know you all know what this is. And we have a number of other options on this side, like here's how you get the PDF full text. And on the right, we have these other tools, and I would talk a bit about them and how they're useful. Between this, going over Academic Search Premier and doing ProQuest, I'd like to talk a little bit about, or I'd like to do a little quiz. And at the end of the session, I want them to potentially email me an article they found that was published in the last 5 years. It has at least 2 authors working on it, and it's at least 5 pages in length.